Hey kids, join the club. Get the all-new CCXCC t-shirt made with 100% mutant power. Be like these cool kids. Get it now on dinobeast.com and chrisandersoncomics.com. All right, so let's take a look at the backup here for this issue. It is a Lilandra story, kind of talking about her, what led her to the point that we're kind of at right now, or I guess a little before that, before she even comes to Earth. So
yeah, it's a really, I think it's a really great backup. I think because she's such an interesting character. And, visually, she's like, it's so kind of a weird design, but it just totally works. Like, it's just got this elegance to it and this charisma. And she provides this interesting alien perspective on what the X-Men are doing when she's hanging out with them through the series. And so this is like a really great backup where you get to see her journey to the X-Men. And usually through some other issues when she shows up, like you don't get enough of her. Like it's just like little bits. She's just kind of hanging on the professor and stuff. But here it's like her in action doing something.
Yeah, they kind of just lay it out. It's not in bits and stops and starts here. Yeah. Her design, like you said, is very interesting. Like these little feather arms and stuff. I'm curious if you know. So one of the things that I noticed that's something that is repeated in a lot of Cockrum's designs is this sort of crazy spidery lace.
Right.
It was in the new Polaris costume. You see it in some of the other characters here and there. And then she has this like spider in the center of her chest. I don't know if it's ever. Do you know if it's ever brought up, like what that's all about, or is it just for a design? Is it some sort of like weird brooch in her? She just likes it. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's weird.
Yeah, I think it's just some sort of gem, some sort of brooch. With her like royal standing, I'm assuming it's like a passed down heirloom of the royal family or something like that. Yeah.
Strange that it's a spider, but it's there's a lot of that webbing in a lot of Cockrum stuff. So the story just kind of starts out talking about how she sort of went against her brother, the Emperor, and it talks about how he could have her killed right here, but he wants her to come back and bend her knee to him, pledge her fealty to him, and she'll be spared. And exile was the fate of your sister Deathbird. It can be yours as well. So in this backup, obviously these are released in the future from the continuity that we're going through. Deathbird, her sister, has already been introduced. And so it's safe for them to mention it here. In our continuity, we haven't met her yet. So,
right.
Somebody like me, I mean, even though I know what she looks like, doesn't know who that is, in the regular continuity. But she is, stands her ground and is like, you're arrogant and, you're going to, destroy, you potentially are going to destroy, everything. And he's like, I will become the master of the universe. I just thought that was pretty funny to drop in there.
Oh.
And this weird little guy all of a sudden sees a ship coming, and she's like, identify your purpose. And there's a warhead, and the shields barely deflect it. And I love this panel where it just really lights it up. So it's a great panel by Bolton. And it is the Pathfinders, which is what she was the commander of. So they're like, I guess, like an elite force. And when she defied the Emperor, they were with her. So they're coming to her rescue. And as things are going down, there's this other woman here on the ship, and she's like, Steelbacks, get her, and I don't know what part of the ship or if it's another ship that she's on. But anyway, Lilandra starts to fight back. She's a badass. She's just crushing everybody. And she says, the Pathfinders are no match for the Imperial dreadnoughts. I have to warn him away before the fleet recovers from their surprise attacks. So she's trying to save them. Love this drawing of her too.
Yeah, that's great.
So she kind of, blasts the communication with the home base, and starts to, try to escape, gets in the ship, and is all of a sudden hit with this psychic energy, stronger than, I think she says, it's beyond pain. And it is, well, she kind of talks about some sort of like psychic people in her home world. And it's this is stronger than even like they could do. And she starts seeing Charles Xavier and his past and his X-Men and everything. And her mind, she starts to lose her mind and confuses herself with Charles. In fact, her legs even give out on her at some point here.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then she says, she starts to come back a little bit and says, my forearms, feathers, vestigial, legacy of the oldest times when the Shi'ar still flew unaided, as my sister does. She is an avatism, a genetic throwback, and fiercely proud of it. Sister, I have no sister. I'm the only child. So it's going back to, she's going back and forth between her own mind and Charles's mind. Like, even though Charles, it's kind of weird because at this point, I don't think Charles has even had a psychic contact that he has seen yet, because she's not in the suit yet. And the first time that Charles kind of gets the thing, she's wearing the suit.
Right.
So
right.
she's connecting to him somehow, but he's not connecting to her. It's kind of a strange thing. Then so the captain of the guard that she was kind of part of comes floating by, and she's like, oh my God, like, everybody's killing each other over this. Like, I'm not worthy of it. She kind of puts herself in this thing and heals herself, because when she broke the communications, the glass kind of cut her up. And this thing kind of is some sort of futuristic thing that'll heal her up. But she, in a reflection, she sees Charles' face combined with, her helmet here, the man form, she calls it. It's just kind of wild to imagine a combination of the two of them. And she, she has this, all of a sudden has this connection with him. Puts Dawn notices that, all the people that came to rescue her and her captors now have destroyed each other. And she's like, I need, there's nobody to help me now. The universe, if I don't do something, the universe is doomed. I have to follow this beacon, and the ship may never make it. So she dons the suit, which is like one of the coolest designs ever. I really love it here too, when she puts it on, and it's just sort of like
so great. Yeah.
Like weird, or like the refraction around her face sort of there. And so she has to, take off for Earth, not knowing whether or not she's going to make it there, and hoping that the X-Men will be able to help her.
Mm-hmm. That's her last chance.
Her last chance. And
help me, X-Men. You're my only hope.
Yeah. Yep, Death Stars and Help Me X-Men, You're My Only Hope, and princesses, and all of this is plotted before Star Wars is even on anybody's mind, except for George Lucas's.
Right.
Wild. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, great sci-fi backup. Look at that cover, man.
Yeah. Ooh. She's not messing around. She's such a cool character. All right. So I'll edit that in. And then get rid of this.
Okay, there. Okay.
Put that up. I'll get my issue out.
Armageddon now.
All right. And then I will announce us again for this, huh? What are we on? Issue 108?
108.
Cruising right along.
35 cents. Whew, that is value.
Yeah, it is. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club. I am Chris Anderson, as always, joined by my good friend John Coates, as well as Abby here. How you doing, John?
Oh, I'm doing excellent today. Ready to get into some new X-Men artists.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a pretty big issue, a big moment. Dave Cockrum is out skis. It was just getting to be too much, apparently, to handle the bi-monthly schedule at this point. And so they decided they went ahead and they picked a new artist who's going to stay on here for a while and become synonymous with this run, John Byrne.
Yes, sir. That is right.
Yep. And
but it's funny, though, that Byrne's first issue has a Cockrum cover.
Yeah. I don't know if, I don't know how things worked back then, because there wasn't solicitation, I imagine, the way that it is now. So because now you would do the cover to be solicited, and even if you haven't even started drawing the book yet, so that you had an image to put out. And I would have thought that maybe Cockrum did this cover for that, but that's probably not the case back then. So it's a curiosity, but still love that it's on there. I love the way that always love the way he draws Storm's cape, kind of flat. He's like always does this cool angle on it.
It always looks like wing, like proper wings, the way they keep that flat,
Yep. Yeah. He, like I always say about Cockrum, he's a thoughtful artist when it comes to, his positioning and just little things. And that's one of the things I'm going to miss about him for a little while. Yeah. And this is a big issue because, as I said in the very beginning of the one of the first episodes that we watched, there's a couple of X-Men artists who people just love and bow down to, and I don't like very much. Now, it's pretty, even saying I don't like them is pretty strong, because I like anybody who puts in their effort to do anything I like, but I'm not a huge John Byrne fan coming into this. I will say, having come from Cockrum to then reading this issue, I'm already coming around. But I think a lot of it has to do with Terry Austin inks, and I'll talk about why that is maybe on a different episode. But I really like the combination here of John Byrne and his almost cartoony caricature style that he sort of brings. It's like it's not too different. It's not like completely out there from what Cockrum was already doing. It's just got a little bit more of a cartoony, more detailed element to it. And I think that Terry Austin brings the heat with the nib that he's using to ink the finer details and elevates what John Byrne was probably doing with pencils.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't think there's a huge difference between like Cockrum and Byrne, the way we'll see as we go on between these guys and later X-Men artists. Like their styles are very similar.
Sure.
Well, that's interesting. I think maybe once we get towards the end, we'll go back and like look at our favorite X-Men artist after we've gone through them. Because, you know, I like, I'm pretty sure I like everyone. But like Byrne isn't my top guy.
Mm-hmm.
And neither is Jim Lee. Just throwing that out there right now. If anyone who's watching and just assuming that, but so it's but I like him.
Yeah.
But that's great. So has your Byrne experience been his later stuff when he's also writing and drawing, you know, Namor?
Yes,
Wonder
exactly.
Woman, all that kind of stuff.
Namor and She-Hulk were my first exposure to Byrne's work. And while I saw his style and I thought it was definitely different than the cheese cutter milk toast stuff that definitely was, you know, ubiquitous in the 70s and 80s in a lot of stuff. I mean, he definitely stood out, and I there was something to it that I did like. I don't know how to articulate it, but there's just details that certain artists add that some don't, and they're just kind of doing the job, while you can tell that Byrne put in that little like 2% extra is all you really need to stand out, and he definitely did that. But it was sort of, I'll tell you what it is. It's that I hit comics at a time when there were so many artists that were superstars that were standing out, and these guys, you know, took their cues from people like Byrne, you know, and Michael Golden and Art Adams, and I think that I was spoiled by that, and so when I looked at Byrne, I was like, man, it's kind of boring. And I think I think I've held on to that opinion for 30 years.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it changes as we get into his X-Men work. I do think early Byrne I would describe it as it's tighter and a little more careful. You know, he always draws the heck out of everything he touches.
Yeah.
Even later on, but it gets like really loose, because he's probably just cooking so fast. Sure. And I wonder
if as it goes on, his dynamicism changes, because it's not super dynamic yet right now, I noticed. Yeah. And I wonder if your opinion on that, the looseness and stuff, depends on the inker.
It could. It very well could.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Well, let's get into X-Men 108.
Oh, can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was said on camera or not, but during my Dan Panosian episode where we were talking about The Last Dragon, is it The Last Dragon? I think that's what it was called. Anyway, his Gene Pool episode, he talked, I think, about Byrne and Austin, and his opinion was that Byrne without Austin was not good enough to even talk about, really. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that, you know, it's not just that has influenced my educated guess.
Sure. Well, John Byrne is a controversial figure for a lot of different artists and stuff. You know, some of it even doesn't have to do with his art, you know, just some of his attitudes and interactions he's had with people. But let's get into it.
Okay, let's do it.
Here we go. Issue 108, Armageddon Now.
Love the lettering.
Yeah. John Byrne, Terry Austin, Wall and Ors, which would be Orzakowski, as two guys on the letters here, and Archie Goodwin, editor. This is 1977, to remind everybody.
Oh, what month?
It doesn't say in the December of 77.
Oh, okay. So I'm 2 months old at this point.
So would the last issue have been your birth month?
You know, right? It may have been, since it's bi-monthly, but I thought that we said it and it was before that. But this issue is my wife's birth month.
Oh man, look at that. You were born on a Cockrum issue and she was born on the Byrne. She's the first Byrne victim.
Yeah, that's right.
She's been in the household the whole time and you didn't even know.
That's right.
Ooh. Oh, that's so good. That's so great. So here we go. So we're picking up this grand space epic the X-Men have been on, and now we're in the finale of that epic with our new artist, and it's reminding us the last issue ended and the X-Men, along with their new friends, the Starjammers, have defeated the Imperial Guard of the Shi'ar, who were protecting this mad Emperor D'Ken, who's trying to steal whatever cosmic power is going to come out of this giant gem.
Yeah. Yep. So they kicked the crap out of most of the Shi'ar people. You can see in the middle ground there is this giant character who they've knocked down. I love whatever Nightcrawler is standing on, this like weird alien technology too.
Yeah.
And how the beams that are coming out of here are showing like a negative of the stars.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, you could have just made them white beams, but they did it as a negative, which shows it's like energy in some odd way. I like it.
Yeah. And so here's page 1. Now they're all the X-Men are kind of getting back up. We've got Wolverine in the costume that he stole from some other alien who he beat up.
Yeah, so weird. Well, he did. Fair, to be fair, his clothes were burned off. So unless you want, Wolverine Wang wiggling around, they had to put him in something.
Yeah.
There's a comics code, people.
Right. And we get a little bit of talk between everyone. Here's our other Starjammers: Corsair, Hepzibah, Chad, Chad's little alien possum friend. There's our Princess Lilandra, and the X-Men, and of course Scott's only thought is, Jean, are you okay? Or he's almost says that, and then Wolverine gives this great, we're all fine, bub. How's about we get out of here while the going's good?
Yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. And, Wolverine does have a nice point, because Scott is always almost one thought is like, first of all is, what happened to Jean? What's going on with Jean? And Wolverine's fed up with it, and probably so are we.
It's not good. That's not a good quality in a team leader.
Yeah. And now Lilandra is going to tell us that they're not done. That they beat up all these guys, but that isn't going to be good enough, because they can't hide from a force that's called the end that all that is. Yeah.
Pretty on the nose.
Oh, okay. It's such a downer.
Yeah, exactly.
And Nightcrawler brings up, he's like, well, what do you mean? Fight what? A universe gone mad?
Mm-hmm.
And Banshee's like, hey, you've kept us in the dark too long. She told you and Jean what this is about. Now you got to tell us.
And then you get this series of flashback images here, which Byrne uses a pretty cool technique where he rounds the corners of the panels there. Yeah.
And so here's our little retelling of sort of what has happened to get us to this point. The X-Men came through that Stargate that Jean opened. They fight the Imperial Guard. We see Gladiator there.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting whipped. Then here's the Starjammers who arrive. And then the little crystal does its blink thing.
Love that blink panel.
Yeah. So good with the little line sketchiness there.
Yeah. So with Austin here, and like I said, he's using mostly it seems like he's using a nib and then a brush here and there, but you can see like in that third panel on the bottom there's a lot of little details in there that I don't know if it's over time with the newsprint, but just get washed away. But there's just a little bit of extra going on in those panels,
Yeah. Yep.
You can't really you'll lose that if you only use a brush, so it has to be a crow quill.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us up to speed pretty close to the end of issue 107.
Mm-hmm.
And now we go back to Earth.
Right. So we had at the end of the last issue, we had a visit to this very same scene, sort of just for a second, but now they expanded a little bit.
Yeah. And so our guys on Earth, led by our reoccurring astronaut, Peter Corbeau here, he's talking to the president and the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, and he's trying to tell them what happened, that when the crystal blinked, all existence ceased to exist for a second.
Yeah.
And then came back.
I love that this is 1977. Jimmy Carter is president, and they put in this sort of Carter, like character. Even the way that he talks, he says, I find that a little hard to believe. Ah is I-A-H, and hard is H-A-H-D.
Yeah. Yeah, and Dr. Cabo.
Yeah.
Yeah, really great. And then, he's trying to talk to everybody, and, Reed Richards, isn't 100% believing him either.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to explain it to the Avengers, and he's like, we could very well be witnessing the end of our universe as we know and live in it. And the Beast gives his they shrink down the font because he's kind of whispering oh, my stars and garters.
Yeah.
And Black Panther's just okay, well, thanks, keep in touch.
And so in the background, that is an interesting. So this must have been a moment in time when Ant-Man donned the Wasp costume.
Yellow Jacket.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah. So we got the Wasp and the Yellow Jacket. The Yellow Jacket, that's his persona when he becomes a wife beater.
Oh, okay. Great.
And he kind of goes mad and stuff. So it's it's not good.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And and the Wasp is freaking out. How can you just be, T'Challa? How can you just say, keep in touch? We're the Avengers. We should do something. But they basically know well, it's on the other side of space. We can't even get there. So we just have to sit back and hope that the X-Men handle it.
Yeah.
Or somebody handles it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I think that this is, I'm just going to make an educated guess here that this is the first time we're seeing a Byrne designed character in the book. And this little guy is awesome.
Totally awesome. Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. Because there is a lot of stuff all through Byrne's run. It's all Cockrum's designs,
right?
Because it's all still the same heroes, a lot of the same villains.
Yeah. And Cockrum let loose on his last issue too, and just there was like they introduced the issue before this, there must have been 25 new characters introduced.
Yeah, he was like, whatever he had left in this sketchbook, he just put it in there. He's like, I'm doing it. They're all in here.
Love it.
Yeah. So the X-Men, they're getting close. So they're at the base of this crystal, because the crystal is on this big metal sort of plinth. And all of a sudden, this little voice says, "Hail and farewell, X-Men and Starjammers." And Corsair's like, "What the?" And Cyclops, "There's someone on the crystal." And then, of course, Jean is thinking about Corsair and Cyclops there, because she mind scanned Corsair last issue and found out something about him, and that somehow he is connected to Scott, but she hasn't revealed it yet.
Yes.
Mysterious connection. I wonder what it is going to be.
I have a thought, but I don't want to say it out loud yet because it'll reveal something. So I'll try to remember it when it's finally revealed.
Yeah. Could be his son. Could be young Cable. Who knows?
Yeah.
And here's our little character that you mentioned, Jaff.
Yep.
And it's great. He calls the X-Men aliens.
Yeah, I love that.
Aliens on the world, you know?
Yeah, they said that in the last issue when the X-Men showed up, the guard was like, "Aliens." I thought that was a great touch.
Yeah. And he's like, "I am the guardian of this gate into eternity. My charge is a simple one and final. So long as the gate is open, no one may approach the crystal and live." And Wolverine, of course, is like, "I'm going to stomp you, pipsqueak."
Yeah.
And we already know Wolverine,
I think, is pretty pot calling the kettle black there.
Yeah, because Wolverine's short, but this guy's even smaller than Wolverine. Yeah, and then, of course, Cyclops tries to be a leader and like, "Hey, let's be careful. We don't know what we're up against." And Wolverine throws it back in his face. "You be careful, bub. That's your bag, ain't it?" I ain't going to hurt the little fella much. And when he's saying that, you can see Joff here.
Winding up.
Yeah, winding up for a punch. And he's just like, "That's for sure." And then, pow.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of textures. Look at that lattice work in the background of the POW. Love it.
And it sends Wolverine sailing, basically escape velocity off of the planet. And luckily the Starjammers ship is up here, and they're radioing down, asking what they should do. And then, Corsair, somebody tells them, "Hey, capture him so he doesn't fly off into space."
Right. It took me a second to figure out that that's what was happening. They say on here, organic humanoid form, approximately 1.6 meters long. A meter is like 3 feet? Like a yard, right? Or is it longer than a yard?
It's
damn American school system.
Fuck. A meter is a meter. No, it has to be more than 3 feet, because they're not saying he's.
I don't know what 6 is. 6 what?
A meter is that like 1.5 meters? Maybe. Half would be like if it's a foot. Well, I was wondering, like, 70 kilos. What's 70 kilos?
So maybe he'd be like 4.5 feet tall, and I guess that's probably right. In 70 kilos, don't even try to ask me to convert that. I have no idea. Yeah, somebody in the comments, please do some metric to whatever the hell ours is called math for us.
Yeah, because I want to know what that is, because this is pre Wolverine having a metal skeleton.
Yeah.
Right. So if they say he's, that's a little bit lighter weight, then I'll believe it.
Okay.
But he's not no 70 kilos if he's covered in adamantium.
Yeah.
So then everybody else is like, dang, and they try and fight Joff, and they're just getting rocked. And Nightcrawler, thinks of him as a midget juggernaut and can't do anything. Cyclops is trying to blast him, and he doesn't even pay attention. Our awesome pirate cyborg here, Raza, is just getting slugged. Colossus can't do anything, and Joff is just kind of laughing at him, asking if he wants to be thrown into orbit with Wolverine.
Yeah. He's just messing with them.
Yeah. And Chad kind of steps in and is just like, okay, hey, we're going to back off. No harm. If you leave us alone, we'll just depart.
Yep.
We'll just leave. And, but Joff says, I sense truth in your words, intruder, but that will not save you. My programming allows no exceptions. You are here and you must pay the final price. So basically, they came to the planet, and that means he's going to kill them.
My programming makes me think that he's like robotic, but I mean, it could be, people can be programmed too. So I don't know if that's the way that he's trying to use it.
Yeah, well, hey, that's exactly what some of the X-Men think when they hear him say that. So Jean, she's still weak from opening the Stargate, but she can still pull a meteor out of the sky and drops it right on him.
Man.
Yeah. So once again, like, everybody's doing their best. And then Jean, in just a second, even though she's tired, she's on another level. She's cosmic level. But it doesn't do a darn thing to Joff. And there he is coming out of the smoke. It was all for nothing. And so Cyclops wants Storm to try and use her wind powers. And he thinks like, okay, if she creates this wind, it'll give us a chance to maybe regroup and then we can attack as a team. And Banshee ignores that and's like, well, no, I got another plan. And Banshee, just like Mr. Chris Anderson, heard the word programming. And so he thinks maybe he's some kind of robot and my sonic scream can scramble his circuits. And he's going to bet his life on that thought, on that gamble.
Right.
So, yeah, another really great Banshee moment here, another great moment where he gets to shine and show how cool he is, which I just love reading back through these because you just lose Banshee as the series goes on.
Spoiler.
Yeah. But then this little guy catches him, and so Banshee has to try and get his scream out before his bones are ground down into powder, basically.
Yeah. Yep. And then he screams at him right before. They really need to come up with a better way to represent Banshee's scream, especially that angle. It looks very strange.
Yeah.
I'll let you all figure out what I'm talking about there, but
But it does the trick.
Yep.
It disrupts him, and the rest of the X-Men come running, and Banshee, his throat's never felt so raw he can barely talk.
Oh man.
And remember that's kind of a key thing here that's happens to Banshee.
Yeah, laryngitis is not good for his powers.
And he's all sweating and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But looking all cool with his like Robert Redford hair,
Totally, and that little smirk.
And Cyclops is like, "Oh yeah, you took a heck of a risk, pal." And they're like, "Yeah, but hey, it worked." And then, Kathoom! Look at his hand,
giant fist.
And now we get Mod, the second Guardian, whose power is 1,000 times Joff's power.
Right.
And if he falls, then there's going to be a third Guardian with power 1,000 times his power, and so on and so on. So they're basically screwed. They're totally screwed.
Yep.
So what do you think of Byrne's work up to this point here?
I mean, I'm liking it so far. I mean, I like his characters and stuff like that. I think that he can push some dynamism here and there that he hasn't tried to do yet. But yeah, no, I'm liking it thus far, and I'm liking his designs.
Yeah, I think the way I think of like Byrne's, the way his shapes of his characters, it's like it's Cockrum with a little bit of Neil Adams thrown in. It's like a little more rounded, some of the forms, and it reminds me a little more of like Adams.
Yeah. And you can tell a Byrne face immediately. It's the eyes, and it's the way that he draws the
cheekbones.
Cheekbones, right? And like there's a darkness around the eyes that most people don't throw in it. Like, you see Joff there on the left, that darkness that's around his eyes. Well, anytime that you see something and you go, oh yeah, that's a John Byrne drawing, well, you can bet that it's going to have that strange darkness and that look down.
Yeah.
On it. Dimples. He also draws a lot of dimples.
Yeah, so it's like classic Hollywood, like macho, like male actors,
with a bit of cartooning in it.
Yeah, and he always does a really nice job with sort of like metal and tech stuff. He's always up for just drawing the hell out of any kind of wires and tech stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, this big robot Mod is pretty cool looking, and Cyclops and Raza take a few shots at it because why not? Maybe it'll work. And it just sort of like is just gonna like crush Raza, and Colossus comes in and shoves him out of the way. And now we get to see our Mad Emperor Deken is still alive.
Yep.
And he's happy because he thinks, oh, well, I get to watch the Starjammers die and the X-Men die, and then I still get absolute power.
Right.
Which is just a ridiculous thing to think at this point.
Yeah.
And Colossus brings it up. He's like, your Emperor is mad. The Guardian is going to kill him too. And Raza lets him know he's not my Emperor, but yeah, he is crazy. And we get this little panel here showing us what happened to Wolverine, and he's in this healing chamber on the Starjammers ship. He is out of commission. One punch from Joff. And Raza, back on planet side, is going after the Emperor, and calling him, murderer. And he basically picks him up and chucks him at the the crystal, our Macran crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you don't know what's going to happen. And there's just this flash of light, and all of a sudden, they're all somewhere else.
Yep.
And now in this original issue here, they printed some of this text as like yellow on black.
Yes.
Not a great choice.
No, it is not.
Yeah. So it's like a little bit like you really got to work to read it all.
Yeah. They did the same on mine, but it is much more legible.
Oh, they didn't like put it. I thought maybe in like classic they would redo it in actual boxes or something like that.
No, but it doesn't have that ghosting of the black and yellow from the color guides around it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
And everybody pauses and everyone's confused. They don't know, like, well, where the heck are we?
Mm-hmm.
And Storm here says, I've never seen such space, such emptiness, yet I feel closed in, trapped, caged.
Oh, no. We all know what happens when she feels that way.
Oh, yeah. Not good things. And Cyclops has this great, but like super out of character response. He's like, I'll drink to that, Storm.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was a really odd response.
Yeah, it's like he's like, beer me strength.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah. Like I could totally see like maybe Wolverine saying that maybe at this point, because he's always, the beer drinker.
Right.
Yeah. And but Jean, she knows where they're at. She's like, don't you see? We're inside the crystal. So basically, when the Emperor got hit the crystal, it zapped and transported everybody inside the crystal.
Right. Yeah, which is kind of I mean, I guess she does have like some mega powers, but like how she would know that that's where they are is interesting. But
yeah, it's a nice little like twist at this point in the story too. Yeah. I think, because the whole time it's like they're fighting outside. This energy is hitting the crystal. You think they're going to somehow touch it and absorb the energy or, some kind of thing like that to become all powerful. And then all of a sudden now they're inside it. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of flips your expectations. Like now you're like, ooh, well, now I really don't know what's going to happen or what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the great shot of Jean here. Both these panels here, this one and the next one, like really nice. So some of the stuff with the crystal gets a little bit, it's a little confusing. It's a little bit, we're going to talk about the plot when we get to the end here, because I got a lot of questions.
Okay. Yeah, they're throwing a lot at this thing.
Yeah. So Jean basically tells us the Guardians were charged with keeping people out, but once they touched it and went inside the crystal, they have no power to pass inside to fight them inside or anything.
Right.
And in the middle of the crystal is this glowing ball that she calls this sphere is the heart of it all. It's kind of like a living thing, and she can feel the life forces of it. And we flip the page here, and we get some really crazy stuff.
Yes.
Really awesome. So Jean touches this sphere and pulls her hand away, and it's like her arm is disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. Like you can see through her hand. You see her hair. You see Chad in the background there. Really weird drawing of Chad too, because he like gives him like human pupils.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little off model there.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden the sphere blasts everybody with energy.
Mm-hmm.
turning their minds and souls inside out. So basically they're all put into like little nightmare realms of their own.
Yeah, they're all on a bad trip here. I love this profile of the Emperor here, this drawing.
Yeah.
Such great caricature work there.
And his nightmare is this demon pet, the little executioner soul drinker that he had summoned in our previous issue. And then Nightcrawler he's going to get staked through the heart by a mob, and the mob turns out to be his friends, the rest of the X-Men.
So that's sort of what, going back to his introduction when the mob in his Bavarian village were trying to kill him. But now it's friends instead of foes. Yeah.
And it's a great little moment too. Like, you know, he's only been on a few adventures with these people and stuff, but he considers them the people that he cares for and loves most in all the world.
Right. Yeah. And he's also just starting to come out of his shell too, and be able to walk around the world and feel comfortable in his own skin. And then his worst fears are, you know, coming out. That it's the opposite of that.
Yeah. And they look great here. Like Wolverine, like they're all kind of like elongated and distorted.
Yeah. Really cool.
I love Cyclops with the red, instead of 2 red eyes, it's just the one in the middle.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's colored differently in mine.
Yeah, it's totally, you know, in the original Gundam, like sort of like the evil Gundam suits had 1 red eye, and it was always, you know, you could really spot them. Always look good. And now here's Corsair's memory, which is interesting. And we see the Emperor with a bloody knife and a murdered woman here, which is Corsair's wife, Kate. So now we know, you know, that's sort of why Corsair fights against the Emperor, because he killed his wife.
Yep.
And Jean's, we get this great skeletal zombie version of Jean here.
Yeah.
In her original costume. Yeah. So good. Because Jean Grey's hell is death.
Yep.
Which is interesting because, like, so in issue 100, like, she dies and is reborn.
Yes.
And gets this new power. And since then, she's had all these little moments where she is thinking about that, and she's just like afraid of death, afraid of dying again.
Yeah, she survived. She survived it once. She came back from it once, and now it's constantly on her mind.
Yeah. But like right here, she like gets past it. And like her dream, it's like jagged, and then it becomes solid. And she's like, the nightmare, it doesn't affect me anymore. I think I understand. When I died, my fear of death died with me.
Right.
So she's like finally come to terms with what happened to her. And this, I think, is another great thing, that she turns to find out, you know, what's going on with Cyclops. And basically, whatever the gem was trying to do backfired, because Scott has to be conscious to keep his I-beams in check. So if he's just unconscious, stumbling around in this nightmare, his eyes are fully open and he's just blasting all over the place.
Right.
And he blasts through Jean because she's in this weird phased kind of form.
Right.
And he basically hits the crystal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because she says the beam should have cut me in two. Oh my God. My entire body's become ephemeral.
Yeah.
I'm some sort of living ghost. Now, I didn't know if that was because of her Phoenix powers or if it was because of the crystal.
Yeah, I think it's simply because she touched the crystal, and it's like slowly turning her that way.
I see.
So this is kind of cool. Like in the background here, so it doesn't show us Banshee or Colossus like their nightmares, but we get like a look at them as they're experiencing those nightmares. Like,
yes.
Banshee's clearly grabbing at his throat.
Yep.
So maybe something to do with losing his voice or something.
Yes.
But what do you think Colossus has going on?
I don't know if he's holding somebody or if it's...
Oh, yeah.
You know? Or if they even thought that deep into it and is just like, draw him doing something.
I bet in the script, I bet Claremont wrote something.
Be interesting.
That would be really interesting to know, like, this panel, what they're... Because I really like your thought that it's like he's holding... his family members back in Russia that died, maybe Storm,
Yeah, because at this point, he's madly in love with her.
Yeah. And so Jean, like she's done a few times before, she just has to knock Cyclops out.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to knock Cyclops out.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just too much and he's got to go down. But here's where we see the sphere in the middle of the crystal is cracking. Scrack, because Scott's eye beams hit it, and now it's busting, and whatever is locked inside is breaking free.
Yes, whatever is locked inside.
Yep. And so now we're going to figure out what's going on. And here we get Jean kind of like extending her powers forward, and it automatically is taking the form of the flaming phoenix bird, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And this is also, we'll keep an eye on. I'm pretty sure, like, going forward here, that when she uses her powers, they don't do sort of the pink trippy thing that Cockrum was drawing her doing.
Was Cockrum drawing the bird head at all? I don't remember him doing that.
Man, I think he draws it a little bit.
Okay.
But but even before it shows up, remember, he's like giving Jean, making her look different when they colored it different when she's using her powers. And I think with Byrne, they don't do that anymore.
Sure. It's just like fire.
Yeah, they just do like the fire bird and stuff. Yeah, and all of a sudden, is this where she tells us? Well, okay, here she's going to go inside the crystal. She's got to figure out what's in this little thing to fix it, and that stops everybody's nightmares. So everybody's coming back out of it, ready to help. And here we get into all this like weird energy, color stuff going on, to just show what's going on in here. And she's turned completely into the bird. And she's like, what's happened to me? I'm beautiful. I'm Jean, yet I'm Phoenix. And I feel as if for the first time in my life, I'm truly alive. Side note, that would have been awesome if she would have, like, going forward, just like straight up transformed it, like just mutated into like a bird.
Yeah.
Right? Like that would have been wild.
That would have been wild.
Yeah. And now she's reaching out to this weird power inside. And she says, bound within this geodesic lattice work of anti-energy. I don't have the words. It's alive, but it's also dying. And there's a neutron. It's a neutron galaxy.
Yeah. There's a whole galaxy with inside of it.
Yeah. And it's being contained by this lattice that's now busted and is going to release this galaxy.
And it's anti-energy.
Yeah. So if it's released, then it's going to destroy their universe.
Right.
It's just going to consume it, and it's just going to be, the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's like matter can't touch antimatter, or they cancel each other out, kind of thing.
Yeah, right. So it's like DC obviously read this book when they wanted to do their crisis years later and collapse all their stuff, and they're like, well, I don't know, how do we do that? And they're like, well, Claremont already solved it for us way back in X-Men 108. Let's just do that. And so she's like, okay, well, I got to fix the lattice work. I got to fix this cage that's holding this galaxy together.
Right.
Simple. All you got to do, just fix it.
Just fix it real quick.
Yeah. No big deal at all. But of course, she doesn't have enough energy to do it. Trying to knit it back together. Because the galaxy, it's absorbing her energy as she's pouring into it. And all of a sudden, here comes Storm, being just like 100% just the hero, ready to sacrifice to save her friends, to save the galaxy, whatever. She's like, you need an anchor in this cosmic maelstrom, Jean. I will be that anchor. And Jean's like, yes, but no, what you're offering me, the anchor you offer is your life force. And Storm says, well, it's my life to give, my friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to give your life to stop the end of all existence, what are you going to give your life for?
Yeah. Yeah. What are you even doing here? Why'd you even come?
I mean, the alternative is the same. So
yeah.
May as well try.
Yeah. And just in case, Storm, it isn't enough, and she reaches out to Corsair, who's the other person closest to her. But his reaction is, well, wait, why should I take your hand? Why should I help?
Right.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, all of a sudden he gets really just doesn't care and is pretty selfish here.
Yeah, all of a sudden well, but I'll die. But just like you pointed out, well, if you don't help, you're still going to die anyways. And here's where we find out who Corsair is, because she calls him Major Summers. Please, there's no more time. Take my hand. And he does. But he also is like, well, you know my name. How? And she's like, I'll explain later, if we survive. So she basically takes their energy and leaves them outside the crystal, and she's going back in.
Yep.
And she tells Corsair, look after Cyclops for me. He's the man I love, but he's also your firstborn son.
Bum, bum, bum.
Boom. What?
Yeah, and Cyclops didn't recognize his own father.
It must be the red glare of those violets.
Yeah, right. That's it.
Yeah, or that he was a kid and his dad didn't look like a rock and roll space pirate.
No, yeah.
At the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Nor is he expecting him, I suppose.
Yeah, he thinks his dad's dead. His dad thinks his kids are dead. And of course Corsair would never recognize Cyclops as his son because you don't even see
his grown man covered up.
Yeah. But he's like, oh my Lord, Scott. So that's our reveal of Scott having a dad.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. I think it's great. Another little family connection added.
Yep.
Right. All these books, these stories that keeps adding, we got Black Tom added to the Cassidy thing. They bring back Juggernaut and the Professor, Cyclops and his brother. Now we get Cyclops has got a long lost dad who was dead. Awesome stuff. Yeah. Do you like that reveal?
Love it.
Did you peg Corsair as his dad right away when we first met him?
No, I didn't. I mean, I knew that it was going to be I mean, no, I didn't peg him as that. Nope.
Awesome.
I think I may have even like read something in the past that revealed that apart from what we're doing here, just another story somewhere, and forgot about it.
Yeah.
So
that is easy to do.
Yeah.
So here, Jean, is that all that power she took? Is that going to be enough? Well, we're going to find out. So she's back in the heart of the crystal, and she changes woman to bird form, flesh to living energy, Jean Grey to Phoenix. And basically she basically fixes stuff. There's a lot of language to tell us sort of intricacies of all the stuff that's going on, of her feeling out this energy and what it's doing to her and what she's doing to it. And she basically is able to repair it and contain our neutron negative galaxy.
Yes.
And that ends their adventure on the sort of nameless, timeless planet there. And then they're coming home.
Yeah, they are. I guess the Stargate that they went through, well, it had collapsed before, did it not? And they had no way back home, but I guess somehow now it's back.
Man, did it collapse when they went through it?
Yeah, I thought it did.
Man, maybe it did. And maybe well, because we see him right here, and then here Fire Lord is still here. Maybe he rebuilt it for him.
Yeah, that panel is missing from my classic X-Men, so I'm not sure. There's
okay.
There's a bunch more pages that reveal something that we're not going to show you right now because it gives way too much away for future episodes. But that's what I'm guessing, is that they rebuilt it, or it just got mixed up, or maybe I'm wrong and it didn't collapse. But
yeah, well, whatever happened to it,
they're back now.
It's back, and they pop right back through it, and we get and Nightcrawler's carrying our injured, unconscious, Wolverine. He's all wrapped up, all beat up. And, of course, yep. Fire Lord's here, and they're like, on your toes, X-Men. Like, we got to fight this a-hole again. But he's like, have no fear. Xavier explained everything. And so I stayed to guard the gate until you could return through it. And
what a nice guy.
Well, good. Way to go, Fire Lord.
Yeah.
Stand up fella. At the end. And then the gate opens one more time, and what do you know? Here comes Lilandra.
What?
What's she doing? And then behind her, it collapses into white hot slag.
Man.
So
she's just so hot that she melted the Stargate.
Yeah. Professor, you dog. And basically that's why she came back through. Because she basically then tells them, well, her brother, the Emperor, is completely insane, and the people in charge of the Empire know that he's insane, and by law, she's going to succeed and be the new Empress.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to take a little time to sort out all the legal
wrinkles.
Yeah. Legal wrinkles of what that is. So until then, she's just going to hang out on Earth because she's in love with Professor X.
Yeah.
Through this psychic love affair that they had.
That's really weird. Yeah. I like it though.
But yeah, you're like a guy who, like, his whole life is is mental connection.
Yeah,
and he can't move. He's in a wheelchair, so it's like it kind of fits that. Like that's how he falls in love through a mental, psychic connection.
Sure.
And then at this last page here, it says, "This book dedicated with respect and admiration,
yes,
Dave Cockrum, who helped make the dream a reality." And then with a little subline, "I'm not dead, Dave Cockrum."
I love that. At this point.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. That was a really good touch.
Yeah, because at this point, 77, when comics are coming out, there isn't like a lot of like comics news. There's no like internet,
right.
So maybe you get on here and you're like,
why
isn't Cockrum drawing the finale?
Mm-hmm.
And then you read this thing like with dedicated to, and you're like,
right.
And then he has to say like, "No, I'm not dead."
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not on the book anymore.
I find it kind of interesting, 77, them giving this kind of credit to an artist.
Yeah.
At this point, because it's still bi-monthly, right? So it's not, a big thing. So they're giving him credit for, sounds to me like bringing this thing back up. And, as we know, the comics isn't at this point really known that well for treating their creators all that great. So it's cool that they busted in here and gave him a thank you.
Yeah. And I wonder, you never know if it, maybe just the editor, Archie Goodwin, was like, yes, we have to do that. Maybe Claremont was the spearhead, because Claremont is definitely a guy who really fights for acknowledgement and fair treatment of everybody who works with him, especially on X-Men, because it becomes so big and popular. It gives him enough clout in the Marvel office that he can try and get things for, better treatment for all his collaborators.
Yeah. And he doesn't take any guff either.
No,
he's not gonna shy away from standing up for what he thinks is right. So yeah. My guess is that it's probably him.
Yeah.
You want to talk about before we get to the backup story in the classic, you want to talk about the your plot hole ideas?
Yeah. So let me get my little notes here. Basically, it's really weird, like the whole get some kind of power from this crystal, because it's never explained like what's that actually look like or how that's supposed to happen. Like Deken's plan, it doesn't make any sense, and he never expands upon what he's actually doing there or gonna do. So he basically doesn't do anything. He just goes to the planet. And so like I've got all these questions about like, okay, it becomes unstable, the thing, and because it like becomes unstable, then it's going to like destroy everything. So like what actually causes that?
Right.
Like is just people being on the planet when these Death Stars align, like is that enough to disrupt the power in the crystal? Is it the fact that they're on the planet and then fighting? Is it just the fact that somebody enters the crystal, which happens by accident? Or is it like because someone entered the crystal and then Cyclops blasted the thing and cracked it? Like, it just leaves me with all these, like, as a writer, like I always want stuff to be like figured out and really tight,
right?
A story. So like this particular one, I read it and I'm kind of left wondering like if nobody went there at all, would it have been fine? Or if the X-Men didn't go, would everything have been fine?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like. I just wonder.
Well, everything wouldn't have been fine because he was trying to use it and didn't realize what he had, kind of, you know?
Yeah. See, so it's like, I mean, if the Emperor enters the crystal by touching it, does that make stuff go haywire, or would he have to then break the little sphere?
Yeah. Or does he, or is just the aligning of it causing all of this, aligning of the stars causing this to happen, and it would have happened anyway? Or
that's another one. Like,
sort of, right. Yeah. Does he have some sort of special knowledge of how to control it once, you know, it happens, that it just doesn't get mentioned? Yeah, these are good questions.
Yeah, and you know, we don't have to have answers to them. You know, it's a nice, satisfying, crazy space epic story here. But it just leaves me, you know, just pausing and going like, what happened? and why did it happen?
Yeah, that's true.
But
interesting.
Sometimes who cares why it happened? It was awesome.
Sometimes who cares why it happened? You just go with it.
Yeah.
I'll pull up pull this up for the classic version. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to go into the extra pages this week because it's just going to give way too much away. But we have a Starjammers Aloft, sort of the introduction to how the Starjammers met. And you see here Christopher Summers.
Yeah. And can I say one thing, Chris?
Yes, of course.
We've mentioned earlier that sometimes the backups in classic are just kind of like to fill some space, and they're interesting, but like it's not like necessary to understanding plots or more about characters. This is one of those that is really good for understanding where some characters have come from, and it gives us lots of good new story to sink your teeth into about the Starjammers. So I just wanted to say, you know, this is one of those issues to definitely get.
For sure. So we see it opens up with Christopher Summers here, and he's working in some sort of a mine, and you see these sort of slave driving aliens, you know, working him here. Great Bolton illustration of this guy. The face on him is just amazing.
Kind of apish.
Yeah, I don't always love Bolton's work, but that one, that drawing in particular, is fantastic. So, you know, he's kind of going through here, and all of a sudden, here comes our skunk girl. I'm so bad with names; it's not even funny.
Yeah, Hepzibah.
Yes, that's it. Cat / well, she refers to herself as feline and the other things, but there's so many reasons to call her a skunk girl. Yeah. So she's running through here. Obviously, has escaped and runs into Christopher here, and they kind of get back a hold of her. And you know, he's just sort of in the way, and you know, they're saying that it's no concern of yours, and so they like whip him around. They you know, toss him.
That would be the meet cute in film terms, right?
Right.
That's our meet cute.
yeah, exactly. Snapshot. And so they just start pummeling her, and you know, he's like, "You can't," and they're like, "Oh, no, you don't, grub." And they whip him with this whip that is full of energy, and they say that it causes an exquisite agony without any physical damage. So they're whipping him with this like energy whip thing. This guy with his long face is pretty weird too, and he's got that Gideon style ponytail with the long thing on
Love it.
And so they really like they beat him down to where he's like, okay, like I'm never, you're right, I'm a grub, you know, I'm nothing. I'm just gonna keep my head down and work. That's all I'm gonna do. And like he's really beat down. And then he thinks back to, you know, being on the plane with his family, and you know, he's gonna become an astronaut. And this is where he mentions that Corsair is his call sign.
Great detail.
You know, yeah, as a pilot, because he was in the Air Force. And as he's flying, this ship comes down, and it kind of zaps them, and it kind of knocks them out of the air. And as they're going down, there's only one parachute, and it can't carry them all. So they he and his wife put the kids in the parachute and drop it. But to their horror, as they get zapped up into this alien ship, the parachute catches on fire and falls to the ground. And they're assuming that their kids are dead.
They're totally dead.
The reason that they got them is the ship is there. The Shi'ar are collecting zoological specimens for the Shi'ar Emperor's collection. And the Emperor takes a fancy to Kate. Oh, he likes her. So they zap Corsair here as he tries to defend her. And he fancies her so much, I guess, that he just stabs her in the chest. And that is how he ended up in the mines.
Brutal.
Yeah. So he kind of snaps out of it and is greeted by, what's his name?
Chad.
Okay, right. And he's like, oh, no, he's freaking out. He's like, I promise I'll be a good worker, you know, hard, just leave me alone, please. And they're like, oh, no, man. Now we see this, the other guy here, too. He's like, you know, have you seen like another mammal running by? And he's like, no, I saw nothing. I've got work to do. Clean my mess, carve the crystal. And so they're kind of like, you know, he saw us now. You know, we're trying to overthrow these guys. He's like, the best thing for us to do is like kill him, you know, leave no witness. They're like, you know.
Yeah. Raza is hard.
Yeah. But Chad is like, you know, let's have mercy on this guy, you know. Occasionally it's better to be a fool, you know. Let's let him go. And so he, you know, picks up this crystal and he's like, oh no, and he's like just losing it. So he goes into the camp as you see them up in these sort of like rock formations above them. Here she is tied up, and they're just sort of sitting around doing their thing. And he comes in.
I love that middle panel on the bottom there, that in shadow.
Yeah.
Of Chad and Raza. So cool.
These are all great.
Yeah.
Yeah. He really has some striking art in this one. And here she is. She's all tied up here. And he's had it. He goes in and he stabs this guy in the back. He gets a hold of their whip and like holds them off a little bit, but the other guy breaks his whip out, takes him down. He's about to jump on him and stab him, but Chad grabs him by the foot, whips him, tosses him, and you know, he goes and dispatches them as he frees her. He's like, hang on, miss. And she says, I have little choice.
She's always written really well.
Yeah.
These, like, she's very like matter of fact, to the point, no nonsense.
Yeah.
And it plays well with like Corsair.
Yeah. They're a good pair. And so, you know, she's super thankful, and you know, she's like, you know, only so fast can we run, only so many places to hide. Only ourselves to trust, odds turning more and more against us. Only hope is to blast off of this accursed rock. But for that, we need a pilot. And he's like, I'm a pilot. And so they're like, oh, okay, can you fly a starship? I can learn. You've seen that in films, plenty of films since then. Like, I don't know if I can.
How hard can it be?
Yeah, I'll learn real quick. This is, I might, look, wherever you guys go, I'd like to come with you. And whatever you ever planned, I'd like to be a part of it. That is, if you'll have me. Objections? None. Splendid. Have you a name, sentient? Call me Corsair. And though none know at the time, a legend is born. So, pretty cool backup story explaining what happened to him after, he was separated from the kids and his wife was murdered.
Yeah.
Pretty great. That middle part where he's just sort of beaten down and defeated is like, man, he's like really a broken man at that point. And that's some strong Claremont drama and character work going on there. I really love it.
Yeah. Broken down to that point where you can only go two ways. Like he's completely broken and going to be broken forever, or he's got to turn it around and come out of it in a heroic way.
Yeah. So there's a cool John Bolton drawing in the back for the back cover. Art Adams with Terry Austin cover. Really cool when they're all psychedelic. I love that face on Banshee here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Her face, Storm's face in the shadows. Look at the big jaw on Cyclops there. And then you always get another awesome Art Adams drawing on the inside, and there they are in their full glory. So cool.
They look great in color too, like the color choices of them all, like they all pop against each other.
Yeah. So good. And there we have it. X-Men number 108.
Yes, sir.
Next week is 109, right? Is it 109 next week?
Next week is not 109. Next week is our first deviation from the standard issues as we go to Iron Fist number 15.
Okay. All right. Well, if you don't have a copy of it, now you got a week to track one down.
Get it. You're gonna want it.
Yeah. So until then, John, where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me on the old Instagram at JD Coates, and my comics are on dinobeast.com.
Awesome. Go and follow my Patreon at chrisandersoncomics.com or at Patreon/chrisandersoncomics. chrisandersoncomics.com is my website where you can find a lot of original art and my books. And you'll see a speed drawing at the end of the thumbnail that you can also buy on my site. And until next time, have an excellent week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Check out dinobeast.com for all things John Coates, like Dino Beast, Ninja 4, M.L.F, Berserker, and more. chrisandersoncomics.com is where it's at for books like Chaotic Neutral, Spectral: A Showcase of Fear, Lost Angels, and more, plus apparel and original art. Also, a link to Patreon where you can read Three-Headed Pigman now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. We'll see you next time on the Chris Claremont X-Men Comic Club.